You just asked the right thing. But
no, think about it.
You, in any case, you talk about like different gods.
No, I'm saying
we have a different opinions and different minds.
What is your name?
Alina.
Alina, I am Mansur. Now, Alina, what I was showing as an example, if we had more than one God who is in control, self-sufficient, independent, all-powerful, there will be a conflict of will. Like I had a conflict of will with you in the car. And this conflict of will ruin the universe. The whole universe will be destroyed because they were not going to listen to each other. Eventually, what we will have is the one who is most all-powerful will remain. Imagine one God says, I want to destroy the other gods. Is he able to do that? Then he's the all-powerful. By definition, God has to be all-powerful. So if you have a God who can't destroy another God, he's not God. That's why polytheism, or belief in many gods, is not rational, it's not reasonable, it's not intellectual. The only belief that makes sense to us here and here is one absolute God. That is the belief your heart and your mind will accept, because there is no contradiction in that. Any belief which says, oh, there's many gods, we can disregard that to be false, because that is not the reality. The reality is, how many gods are in control? Who can see it? If there are many gods in control, the universe will collapse and be ruined. But look at how precisely the sun is orbiting, the earth is orbiting, whole universe is following a particular law, the natural law that is within this universe. How the water defies gravity because of this capillary section and goes up the root of the tree to the all laws regulated, put forth by a designer, one controller. The universe demonstrates there is one God.
Yes, but in any case, you cannot tell like people who believe in Christianity or who believe in Islam or something else like that.
But do you agree? Elena or Elena, did you say her name?
I think your point is right, but I don't believe like some part of your speech when you talk like people who believe in different gods, they are stupid because...
I didn't say stupid.
Right. No.
I said the belief, like, okay, ask, is it Elena or Elena?
Alina.
Alina, if I say this camera is God, this camera created this universe, you have all the right to ask me. I mean, why?
But you're in the...
No, you're not going to say like, oh, I'm crazy and stupid. You can ask me. If you know that I'm quite sensible, you can say, why do you believe that? If I am not able to give you any valid reasons, you would say, how can you believe in a man-made camera and say this is the camera that made the universe? You would say it's not believable. It's not reasonable to believe. So that belief, so would my belief be true though, that this camera made the universe? It cannot be true.
It cannot be true, but for you,
not for me.
For you, it's true.
Not for me. Not for me. This is not about subjective belief. I can believe in anything. In reality, this camera did not make this universe. Yeah. So one can believe that this camera made this universe, but it doesn't make
proof that Jesus created.
We will go by one, but at least objectively, in reality, we can demonstrate that this camera did not make this universe. There might be people who believe in that. There might be people who believe in many gods, but in reality, that is not objectively verifiable. In fact, we can demonstrate otherwise. We are not saying these people are fools. We are saying these people don't believe in the truth. This is just a belief. They believe by blindly or without critical thinking. So when it comes to believing God having sons or daughters, again, some kind of emotional attachment. Not reasonable belief from the mind and the heart, but it's all about attachment to what your forefathers believe, what your church tells you, and so on. So if I come to you and tell you, you know what, God has a mother and a sister, you'll be wondering, what does it even mean? God has a mother and a sister. But if people believe in it, say, I believe in it because a book says so.
But religion, it doesn't something like that you can prove like real proof.
Yes.
You cannot prove like
we can. That is what the secularism, atheism, the people who follow that, they want to put forward this narrative that you cannot prove the existence of God. You cannot prove the validity of a religion. That narrative comes from the secular atheistic worldview. What we do in Speaker's Corner, if you watch our videos, you will see we precisely dismantle this claim with the atheist. I have discussed with so many atheists, so many other people have, dismantling this claim that no, we can establish that there is a creator who is one, an absolute, who is in control, who created all of this. It's establishable. So when we
believe in such a thing, but like I have my own religion. I don't need to go to church or something like this. When I feel bad, I can like sit alone in a silent room and just talk to him how I can.
But Alina, when we say we have our own religion, it is, I think, useful to sometimes think, am I in the right religion? Because I may be following the wrong religion. Like many people who worships a camera and say this is God, or worships a tree. Do you know many Hindus? They are recently worshipping, what is it? It's a bicycle stand or something, I don't know. They worship trees and snakes and they represent them as idols of God, representation. So we know many people worship the creation. We need to ask, did they ask them? They need to ask, are they in the right religion? So you can say, look, I have a religion, my father, my mother believed in it, but was that the right religion though? We have to ask, because now we come to an age where we are together interacting with different religious faiths and belief systems. Because we are exchanging information from our respective faith and ideologies, we need to be aware of it and say, actually, am I believing in the right thing? Because you'll be surprised. I'm a Muslim. In the Quran, the God who revealed this Quran reprimands, takes people to task, those who say, I'm going to stick to my forefathers' belief. For instance, what if they were wrong? So don't just believe in what your parents believed and parents tell you. What if they are wrong? Are you going to stick on believing in it? So Quran reprimands. Quran wants us to use our brains, our critical thinking.
Can you ask you one question? Like, you're a Muslim, okay? So why Allah like brings a war to Ukraine? Why it happens? Why wars happens?
Wars happens. Okay. So Allah has created mankind and given them the laws to live by. These laws are beneficial for human societies to live as a society, as a community. Because individually, do you need any law? If you're all by yourself in a jungle, there's nothing else. You don't need any law. Law for who? Who are you interacting with? But when there's someone else, you need to know how you behave, how you talk. Do you steal from them? Or do you say a word which is true? Or do you deceive them? Laws are necessary when we are in a community. Of course, when you're alone, you do need laws. But if you think about it, in a community, it's more necessary to have laws. So that we can live in prosperity, we can live in tranquility, we can live in happiness, and no problem suffering. No one's going to come and kill me, steal from me, insult me, mock me, take my job or whatever, destroy my house, bulldoze my house, take my land. We need laws. So when God gives these laws, He does that out of His mercy. So that I don't have to go and try and see which one's better. God gives us this for granted and says, live accordingly. Do not cheat. Do not lie. Do not bring false witness. Do not commit adultery. Do not kill unjustly, and so on. All of this are values which everyone can aspire to and say, oh, this is a good thing. But what happens is, some people don't want to believe in the laws of God because they have their ego and their desires and other things are influenced by. For example, they see a nice car, they say, okay, now I'm going to steal it because I don't have one. Then they take the right away of someone else. Now imagine you have a country and they see another country. They come in, occupy the country and take its resources and enslave the people because of greed. This happened. Did it happen? America went to Iraq. Is it because they had mass destruction weapon? There were no weapons. There was no evidence for it. But they went there, looted the country, destroyed their culture and the civilization, and look at what they've done. This is all about greed, political greed, because Iraq had oil and gas. Would they do that to England? They wouldn't do that to England. Yeah? So wars happen because people are greedy and they want to usurp and they want to take the rights of others and so on. So sometimes war can be because of this. But God gives us rules and regulations how to conduct if this happens. But if you're going to fight, fight for justice. Don't go and fight for greed. So I'm going to fight and then take their land. No. In Islam, we have a concept of jihad which is opening up another land so that people can see the justice of Islam. Not to oppress the people, but to remove oppression, to establish justice. That is why this will be the only one example in the history of mankind. When the Muslim armies went and they opened up another country, the people who were conquered, they joined the army to the next round to another country. Everywhere else, when Alexander the Great came and took over the land, when he left, they said, thank God they're gone. They didn't join them because they were now saying, now they're gone, right? They didn't join and say, let me open up. In Islam this happened because they knew that this is for the truth and not about greed or about desires. This is establishing justice on earth. Islam, if I want to tell you one word, is about justice. Maintaining justice between your own self, between your spouse, between man and woman, between the societies. The Quran says, be a firm witness even if it goes against you and your kith and kin, your relatives. No favoritism. The Prophet Muhammad.
Hard to understand because if someone wants to kill your relative or something else, you need to fight.
No, stand firm in justice. When you're going to be a witness, speak the truth. Then just imagine, your brother killed someone. The judge asks you for witness. You're going to say, you're going to lie?
No, it depends on the reason why he killed
No.
people.
He killed it because he didn't like the other guy.
So I will tell the truth.
Right. Islam says otherwise. Establish justice. In fact, you'll be surprised how the degree of this message is put forward. Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is our prophet of God, he said, even my daughter Fatima, if she were to steal, what would you do? Cut her hands off. Even if the daughter of the prophet did that, she's not going to be spared. Of course, he would not do that, but Prophet is teaching us a lesson. Even if it was her, but how close can anyone be than the daughter of the prophet? He says, no. No favoritism. Nothing where you actually demonstrate that you are going to commit injustice to society. So justice demands that everyone has the share of justice without being violated their rights and so on. So in an Islamic society, we have the rights of a non-Muslim citizen and their rights are protected by the state. In other countries, go to Palestine, occupied Palestine. Do they have any rights? Their land's been taken away, their lives been taken away. International community doesn't give a damn. Do you know why? Why did the international community become so silent when Israel commits all these atrocities, for example? If Palestinians commit atrocities, we will be the first one to say, wrong, you cannot commit atrocities to another human being, even if it be against the Israelis. But when Israelis commit all this aggression and atrocities, the whole world is silent. So this is something that we need to really open up to and say, why is this happening? Why have they made this rule called anti-Semitism law? You can't talk anything against it, you'll be put behind bar, you'll be punished. Look at how they've done it, they even made it illegal. But Arabs are Semite people too. When an Arab is insulted, does anyone take them to court and say, no, you have to be a Jew? So that's how society has somehow been in the hands of certain people. The rich of this world is on the hands of certain people. Islam says no. You cannot let people die in starvation and hunger. They have a right in your wealth. Your neighbor has a right over you. A believer, it's not like this. The Prophet ﷺ said, you are not a believer. You are not a believer. You are not a believer if you go fully fed and your neighbor starves in hunger. You're not even a believer. This is how much right. In fact, the companions of the Prophet were asking, how much do they want me? They were even thinking
Yes,
like...
but if your neighbor, like a very bad person who kills someone, why you will feed him
No.
like this, you know?
We're not talking about the exceptionally bad people. We're talking about a neighbor of a Muslim who's not a Muslim, could be a Jew, Christian, atheist, whoever. The companions of the Prophet were even